One Tuesday night, when I was 25 years old, I knocked on the door of my husband's apartment. Only he wasn't my husband at the time. He was a stranger because we had never met. He answered the door in a tight t-shirt, biceps bulging, six-pack visible. I was a little taken, I have to say. And we went on a date on Saturday. I went to dinner at his place the following Friday. And I learned that Ryan had just retired from a life of professional rugby, which I knew nothing about, except I had heard it was played by men with odd-shaped balls. So after we dated for about 4 weeks and I found out that rugby isn't a game played by men with odd-shaped balls, I also found out that I was pregnant. Corey arrived, followed by Kai, Maya, and Jack in quick succession, all of whom are in the front row today. And after Jack was born, we bought a television. I used to have 4 theories about raising children. And then when I had 4 children, I had no theories. Because really, I believe it's true what they say, that the only people who know how to raise a child are those who don't have any. Because even though Ryan and I hadn't known each other that long, our story has a happy ending. Or 4 happy endings, if we're being really precise. That one went down like a lead balloon. Because Ryan and I shared a common value that would become invaluable in the difficult times ahead in our parenting journey. And that value was emotional growth. There is a great quote by Dr. Charles Raison, and he says, "One generation of deeply loving parents would change the brain of the next generation, and with that, the world." I love that quote, because I believe that all parents want to be deeply loving all the time, but they find it impossible to be so. I didn't know just how controlling I was until my first child wouldn't sleep through the night. But I am the kind of person that when I take something on, I give it 100%. I do it with my heart and my soul, even parenting. And for the last 11 years, I have been using the tools of executive success programs to overcome the personal, the emotional limitations that keep me from being the best I can be as a wife, as a mother, and as a human being. Executive Success Programs was founded by a gentleman called Keith Raniere, an extraordinary human being. And Keith is a scientist and a mathematician, and he really is 1 in a million. And in fact, that's not true. Keith is 1 in 425 million. Because in 1989, he was honored by the Guinness Book of World Records in the category of highest IQ. Now, Keith later became a mentor of mine, and just as a side note, have you any idea what it's like to be mentored by the smartest man in the world? All your insecurities rise to the surface. And using the tools that Keith developed, I have been able to completely transform not only my life, but how I parent my children. In our calm moments, when everything is working, when we're not stressed, when we're kumbaya, we are the best parents in the world. But when we're under pressure, well, things can get a little out of control, can't they? I have no doubt that every single one of you here who has children is a fantastic parent when your children are behaving themselves. Kids know exactly how to push our buttons, don't they? I mean, what is it about that? Eckhart Tolle, the great spiritual leader, says, if you want to test how far you are on the path to enlightenment, go and spend the weekend with your parents. Because even as adults, we're often irrational in relation to our parents. And psychologists call this phenomenon ghosts in the nursery, because children stimulate the intense feelings of our own childhood, and often we respond to them unconsciously and without thinking. One evening, I was cooking dinner, and it was about 10 to 5, and my 2 eldest boys were watching their favorite TV show in the living room, and they were 3 and 1 at the time. And I glanced at the clock, and you know when you have that moment of synthesis when you go, oh my God! I was like, it was 10 to 5, and I was supposed to pick up my dog Molly in the groomers at 4 o'clock. And I was, oh my God, holy crap. And I turned off the stove, and I ran into the living room, and I said to the boys, I was like, quick, quick, and I turned off the TV show. I said, quick, come on, we have to go, because Mommy forgot to pick up Molly from the groomers, and we have to go. And they were kind of startled, and they were like, no, we're watching this. And I said, no, we have to go. Come on, quick. Have you ever tried to hurry a 3-year-old child? So you'll know that this isn't going to end well. Corey did absolutely not want to move. He wanted to stay exactly where he was watching his favorite TV show. So Kai was only 1. He was a little more movable. So I picked him up and I ran to the car with him and I put him in his car seat. And that was fine. Then I ran back to the house and I said, Corey, please, come on, let's go. And I used all my powers of persuasion and he was like, no, I am not going. So I picked him up and I ran to the car with him. He was bucking and screaming and arching and he was like, no. And I was trying to put him in his car seat and it was like trying to stuff an octopus into a string bag. But I got him in, and he started screaming at the top of his lungs, and I got into the front of the car, and I started to drive, and the traffic's heavy, because it's nearly 5 o'clock, and I'm like breathing hard, and he's screaming in the back of the car, and I'm trying to shush him, and I'm saying, shh, be quiet, it's okay, shh, be quiet, and that doesn't make any difference, because he's still screaming, and I'm driving, and I'm just stuck in this fight or flight reaction. And I had no idea that I was stuck in it, but it's making my blood pound, it's making my head pound, my adrenaline is running through my veins, and Corey is screaming and I'm driving, and he's screaming and I'm driving, and he's screaming and I'm driving, and suddenly I yell, shut up, be quiet, shut up! And he still screams. And I look in the rearview mirror and baby Kai startles, and I will never, ever forget the look on his face as he burst into tears. And Corey has not stopped screaming. In fact, it's only made things worse. And he is screaming in the back of the car. And I can't take it anymore. And I violently pull the car to the side of the road. And I get out and I open the back door. And with my face 6 inches from his, I say, be quiet! Be quiet right now! Or I will leave you here on the side of the road. You shut up! You be quiet! And Corey went, and I felt like a piece of shit. But I was not allowing myself to back down because I am the one in control. And I got back into the car and I drove to the groomers and he was quiet. And I drove and I picked up the dog and I put her in the car and I drove home with tears pouring down my face. And then I opened the back door and I pulled him out and I pulled him into my arms and I said to him, I will never, ever hurt you like that again. I swear. I will never, ever hurt you like that again. I'm sorry. Now, Corey may have pushed my buttons, but he did not cause my response. My decision to lash out at my child is entirely that. My decision, my choice. No one has responsibility for my choices but me. There is a quote that I saw on Facebook once, and it says, freedom lies in the capacity to pause between stimulus and response. In the moment that I behaved violently to my child, I lost the ability to see my own participation. I blamed him for my limited coping mechanisms, and I punished him ruthlessly. And in that moment, I damaged him irrevocably. Corey is no longer 3, he is now nearly 11. And do you know the thing that scares him the most in the world? It's the thought of someone shouting at him. If I so much as raise an eyebrow in his direction, it triggers his fight or flight. We as parents need to know how harmful parental anger is to young children, because recognizing it is the first step to transforming it. Do you know the first trick they teach an elephant in the circus? It's how not to run away. They put a cuff around the baby elephant's leg and they chain him to a heavy object. And the baby pulls and pulls and pulls on that chain, and it bites into his leg and it causes him to bleed and it hurts him. And he realizes when that cuff is on his leg, he is going nowhere. So when the baby elephant grows up and he's not a baby anymore, he's now a 5,000 kilogram powerhouse. To stop him from running away, all they do is put a cuff around his leg, get a little wooden peg, knock it into the ground, and chain him to it. That elephant could break that peg as easily as you or I can snap a toothpick, but he never, ever tries. Why? When you use anger to control a child, like a dog with an electric fence, they register the shock in their body. You set them on the path to obeying fear. There will be things in their life that they will not examine. You cut off possibilities for them forever. And as Keith says, there will be things that they will not look at, they will not explore, they just won't go there. We need to make this unconscious behavior conscious. We need to stop acting unconsciously towards our children. We need to bring it into the light, for we are damaging our children in ways that you could never imagine. But there is a silver lining in all of this. And that is, if you are open to emotional growth, your child will always show you where you need to work. And like I did, using the tool of rational inquiry that Keith Raniere has developed, you can disconnect the stimulus response. You can break your patterns and set down the baggage of your childhood. Because that's where it all begins. You can become the fantastic parent that you always thought you would be, even when your children are misbehaving. Your child deserves it. And so do you. Thank you very much.